Hi all, welcome back to Node.js tutorial course. I hope you all have watched my previous session which explains more about introduction of our Node.js, how to set up Node.js, its IDE, architecture, features, and several other concepts like V8 engine and our first Node.js example. If not, I request you guys to watch and I have given the links in the description box. Please do watch. Today I'm here to explain you all about global objects and also will be showing live example on how to use this global object. First, I would like to explain in detail what are these global object and what is the benefit of using it. So globals, right? So here, what does it mean, right? The Node.js global objects are, as name says, it's global in nature, and it's available in all modules, right? So it means that you don't need to include this object specifically in your application, right? So rather, it can be used directly. Right, so you don't have to keep on requiring it, or you don't have to require every time. It can be used directly. So these objects can be a modules, it could be a functions, or it could be a strings or an object itself, right? Some of these objects aren't actually in the global scope, but it can be in the module scope as well. Okay. So this is about the global. Okay, so next I'm going to explain about a list of global objects which are we frequently use in our Node.js development, right? The first one is a directory name, which will help us to know the it specifies the name of the directory where the current code lies, is available, and the file name. So basically, it specifies the file name of the code being executed, and the next one is console, where this console basically helps us to put a logger, and it's a global object. So you print different levels of messages to output and any error, right? So these are the built-in method which we can use some information or warning or error messages. Okay, next one is process model, where this is again a global object which can be accessed anywhere, and there are several methods available in process object which I'll be explaining you in the next live coding section. Okay, next one is buffer. So as the name says, right? So buffer is mainly will be helping us to uh, store raw data similar to an array of integers, and which also correspond to raw memory allocations. And we do have some of the timing based functions. We have setImmediate, setInterval, setTimeout, and clearImmediate, clearInterval, and clear timeout. Okay, so these are the list of global objects we have. So now I'm going to show live examples of majorly used global objects and how we can use it in our real-time scenario. Okay. Okay, so now let's see. We saw how directory is getting printed. Now let's see. We'll try to print my current file name where my code is running. Okay, so for that we have to use file name. Is a global object which we need to use to print the which will be giving the output as file name of the code being executed. Okay, this is basically resolved absolute part of this code. Okay, so let's go ahead and write console.log of my file name is, and followed with underscore file name. Okay, let's go ahead and run the code. Yes, here you are. So this is my file name global.example.js, and it has been printed. Okay. Okay, now let's see how this console global object works. So as you guys saw here, we have already used this console log uh, to print the informations or logging, right? So we do have console dot error, where if you want to put a error notification, then you can use error. If you want to log some one, then you can use one, right? And so for example, if you want to put some information, my program has started. Okay, and then this basically gives a as a information for the as an output. Okay, and now if I have to log something, right, you guys saw that above I have logged this directory name. Now let me declare one variable called counter equal to 20. Okay, let me print those log value. Okay, that is counter. So we have counter value equal to counter. Okay, and so this is about the log info error 1. Okay, and let's see how does this execute. So you guys can see my program has started and counter value 2, the value of the counter has been printed here. Okay, so let me clear this console and let me see let me show you guys how to use this time and time end console, right? So assume if you want to know how much time this particular code has been taken to execute, right? So then you can use this console.time and console.time end to know the time between the execution. Okay, so here let me say this is the starting point. My uh, code execution started. Okay, and I can do something here. Okay, do uh, something, then console dot time end, which will say, so basically these two things should be same. Okay, so that it needs to be captured, right? So let me copy, so time end of that starting point, correct? So when this gets started or ended, no, you will be able to see the amount of time it has taken to execute this piece of section. Okay, so let me run it again and show you guys. You can see it has printed a counter value, and you can see the console time the timer starts, like to check the count, and my code execution started, and here you can see it has printed the time end, uh, like how much time it took to execute the data between those two, time and time end. Okay, Okay. Now let's look into process object. So I'll explain what is this object about, right? So this is, as I told you, it's a global object, and that can be accessed from anywhere. And inside process we have lots of methods and properties which we can use it. Okay, so basically this process object is an instance of an event emitter, and which actually emits the certain events, right? So the process events, correct. So we have a concept of process events where it will act like an event emitter and will emit certain events. Okay, so I'll just first show you how this process event works with a simple example. Okay, so let me write process dot, sorry, process. So let's write as process dot on, and then we'll give on exit. Okay, on exit we will write a function with the code, right? That is nothing but exit code. Okay, and so here if you see, we'll add one set timeout. Okay, with the callback function, and here we are going to write one, this is set timeout process. Okay, so here what we did is we created a process dot on exit. Okay, and exit, we will get a code as a response, and here if you see inside we have given the set timeout. Okay, so we are doing a set timeout with a 0 as a seconds. Okay, after that we are going to write one console dot log, which says that our process is going to uh, exit, so with the code, correct. So we'll just mention what's the code it's showing up. Okay, then what we'll do is, before exit, let's give one simple console stating that first program is ended. Okay, so here what happens is, so before, if you see, right, when we exit this particular statement will not be the set timeout, right? The set timeout will not be will not be executed. The reason, because we are just ending the program, right? So, and once the program or the process is ended, then there will be no thread or any set timeout will be executed. So let's see how this works. Okay, so I'll just save this and I'll run the example, and you guys can see that this particular set timeout has not executed because this program has been exited. So when we run this particular command, right, so it will just execute this first line, this program is ended, and then it goes, so the program is ended, right? So it emitted this exit event, then immediately it gave this console message, and it did not execute this because this program is already ended. Okay, this is one example of process events. Okay, so we will have different set of exit codes we get. It can be depending upon what we are doing, right? So normally node exits with 0 status code when there is no more async operations are pending, and we also have other exit codes like one which will be uncaught fatal exception, two will be unused, three is internal javascript parse error, 4 is internal JavaScript evaluation failure, 5 is fatal error. So like this, you have so many other exit codes available for this process. Okay. So now let's go to the process properties. So here process object usually gives a lot of properties to get a better control of our the program interactions, right? So some of those properties are std out. Basically it is a writable stream to standard output, and we have std error, which could be for standard error, right? Same way we have several other um, properties which we can use within the process global object. Okay, so let me show some of them with an example here. So here let me just comment this code. Okay, and let's write some code related to. Okay, so uh, process dot std out dot write. Okay, so here what happens is welcome, and this is just a normal standard output. Okay, and next we will see when we run this Node.js application, right? We can actually pass some of the parameters, right? So for example, we have node global example.js. This will be acting like a each set of arguments. So let's see how this process object can read those past parameters or an argument. Okay, so process dot we need to use argv, so the argument, and we have to loop through each object of that sorry, each item of that argument, and we have to print those whatever the value it gives back. Okay, so here what we'll do is we'll write a function within that for each where it gets those value and index of that particular argument and array. Okay, and here so here so here we are going to print what is the index of that each argument and what's the value it's going to come display. Okay, so here we'll write console log, and we'll mention index is index. Okay, then we'll write as value is value is val. Okay, so when we run this, right, so basically it will loop through all the argument which is there in the um, command which we run, right, and then it displays its index and the value associated with this. Okay, I'll write another example where we can print the executable path of our code. Okay, so let me print like console.log. I'll write executable path is, then we can give like process dot exit path. Okay, and so assume if you want to know some platform information, right, so where it is running and things, is it a Windows or Linux or whichever the platform it is running, right? So we can also use process object to know the platform details. Okay, so my platform is, and we can print like process dot platform. Okay, So these are the simple list of properties which we can use in our programming. Okay, so let us now run and see how our code executes. Okay, so here you can see it gave welcome, then provided with, so okay, let me just add one breakpoint, okay, so that it just prints in a proper way. So let's clear this. Okay, so here we saw that it has printed this welcome with the breakpoint, and if you see here a node and space with our mm, values, right? So we have index is 0, and the value is our node exe, and index is 1, and the uh, path of our global example.js. Okay, and again if you see the next, it has printed the executable path. It is again what is our executable path for our Node.js. Okay, and here, yeah, my platform is Windows 32, hence it has printed as 32. Okay, so I will show some more examples here. Let me just comment all these for now, and let me show few more other examples which we can use the uh, process object. Okay, console.log. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to print the current directory using process object. Okay, current directory we can use with process dot, and we can use cwd, okay, which gets those current working directory. Okay, so these are the methods. Basically process gives events, process gives the properties, and it also gives some methods to uh, get some of the details. Okay, so I will also try to get the version of the process, right? So version, so let me just print as process dot, and we can type as version. Okay, and if you want to know memory usage of the process, right, so you can use process memory usage, and then we can put process dot memory usage. Okay, and here, yeah, sorry, I have missed to give this. Okay, this is fine. And so let's try to run this and see how what the output. Okay, so here it says the current directory is the learning, and the version is 16.14.2, and process memory usage is this. So these are the main list of process object we usually use for our development. Okay. Okay, so now let's see how this buffer object works. Okay, so this Node.js provides a class, a buffer class, to store a raw data, which is actually similar to array of integer. Okay, but it is actually a raw memory of allocation, which is outside a V8 engine. Okay, uh, buffer class is used because JS is not nice when it comes to the binary data, right? Basically, when we have a streaming of file system, it's necessary to handle this kind of octet streams. So buffer class is a global class, and it need not to be imported when we have to use in our application. Okay, so so when we create a buffer, there are different ways of creating a buffers. Okay, so there are basically three ways which we usually use when we create a new buffers. Okay, the first one would be without or we will initialize it with some bytes of like zeros. Okay, so let me just create one buffer with buffer dot alloc of 8. Okay, so here what happens is it will be initialized and it contains 8 bytes of 0. Okay, and the next one is we can create a buffer with the based on the contents of array. Okay, so we can see const buffer array equal to buffer from, and then we have to mention array list. Okay, and there is another way where we can create based on the strings. Okay, so buffer string equal to buffer dot from, and you just give hello, it's my string, and then you need to give the encoding. Okay, so these are the three different ways of initializing the buffers. Okay, so now let's see how to write buffer. Okay, so we already created a buffer here, so let's try to write some data to that buffer. Okay, so we can do like buffer dot write of hello, then we can just give the encoding mechanism there. Okay, and we can just write the buffer this way. Okay, and if you want to print this, you can write like my buffer is, and then with buffer. Okay, let's try to execute this and see how does this give the response. Okay, and let's see. So this will be in the encoded format. Okay, so if you pass this with some variable, right, and if you want to know the length of it, correct, so we will be knowing what is the length of the my buffer. So here if you say it's a 5 characters, right, so it's printed with the 5 as a length. Okay, so now let's try to see how we can read the buffer. Okay, so we have the length and we have the encoded buffer which is stored under buffer variable. Okay, now let's see how we can uh, read the buffer. Okay, my buffer is, okay, and here we will just give like buffer dot to string of utf hyphen 8. Okay, so now let's see how does this execute. Yes, you guys see this has been the encoded one is has been decoded. It gave the actual string. Okay, for example, if you want to get individual by using an array like syntax, right, there also you can use something like if you want console dot log of
individual objects, then we can do something like buffer of 12 or maybe buffer of 5. Okay, then you can see what does it print. Let's see. So individual octet is 0. Okay, so what if we just give this 12? So it's undefined. Okay, so 0 basically in that position, what is the buffer, right? That is what it is going to give. Fine. That's about the buffer. Okay, next let's see how this global object timer works. Okay, so timer functions, again, it's a global, and we don't need to use or require it in our code. Okay, before we use it. So we basically have 6 timer function. One is set, three timer functions related to set, and 3 related to clear. Okay, so let's start with the set interval. Okay, so here we can say that we can set the time interval, for example, 1000 milliseconds, and we can just put some console log and see how that executes. Okay, so let's do that. So here we see set interval, and we can just mention function, and we'll just put 1000 millisecond as a interval period. Okay, and then let's write one simple console. So we'll write some simple console log set interval 1000 millisecond completed. Okay, okay, so you guys can see that the set interval is like every 1000 millisecond it keeps on executing for every 1000 millisecond interval. Okay, let's run this code and see how does it execute. So you can see it's keeping on executing for every 1000 milliseconds. So to stop it, we can just press Ctrl C, and this process has been stopped. Okay, so this is about the setting the interval. Okay, and here if you would like to know how many times it executed, right? So what we can do is we can just declare one variable I equal to 0. Okay, and then what we can do is we can just keep on incrementing that I variable, and we can just print it. Okay, so let's see 10,000 millisecond completed, and count is, then we can just print I here. Okay, so let's see how this will be executed. So you guys can see it's incrementing the number, and it just prints 1 2 3 4. Okay, this is about the set interval, and now let's see how does this set timeout works. Okay, so here also the set timeout will be the same scenario, just that it will be executing only once. It doesn't, it's not executed on the interval basis. Okay, it's executed once. So let's change the set interval to set timeout, and here, since we don't have interval, we don't need this variable to be set. right? And we just remove this piece of code and we'll execute this and see how does this execute. Okay, so it's only one time because it is not a interval basis. Okay, okay, so let's see how we can use this clear timeout, right? So clear timeout and clear interval. Okay, so both, let's try to see how we can remove this clear timeout. Okay, so now we have set timeout running, correct? And it prints the set timeout. Okay, it's a timeout. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just putting this inside some function. Okay, and what I'll do is I'll call that timeout function. Okay, and what I do here is I'll create one function called timeout. Okay, and then what I'll do is I'll do a console dot log welcome to my course. Okay, so this is the timeout function, and what I'll do here is I'll just give one variable called uh, temp1. Okay, and this is about the timeout, and what we will do is once we once we do this, we can just do a clear timeout of temp1. So what happens is it will be not be executing, correct? So let's see how does this work. Okay, let me just clear this off. Oh, sorry, that's my mistake. Okay, and let's clear this and then run. So you can see this not have executed because it cleared that timeout altogether, correct? So this is about clearing the timeout, correct? So now let's see how we can now check on the uh, set interval and then clear interval, correct? So here what we'll do is clear interval of temp1. So you guys can see this one how it is executing, correct? So as we can see this here also, since this interval, right here also it cleared off, correct? And it actually cleared that interval and then it did not execute at all, correct? So that is how set clear timeout and clear interval works. Okay, and we have set immediate as well. It is used to execute immediately, and we also have clear immediate, which is actually used to um clear clear that set immediate object. Okay, like how we have did same to this, we can use the set immediate and the clear immediate function of the global object.
Okay, so now you all have a good idea about what are these global objects and how it works and how to use. And we also learned to do some of the live coding using this global object. Okay, in next session, I would be explaining about
REPL and REPL and live coding with some of the commonly used scenarios. Okay. Thank you for watching. If you like my session, please like, comment, subscribe to my channel. See you in the next session. Thank you.